أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا جناح عليكم فيما أردتم به من خطبة النساء أو أكننتم في أنفسكم علم الله أنكم ستذكرونهن ولكن لا تواعدوهن سرا إلا أن تقولوا قولا معروفا ولا تعزموا عقدة النكاح حتى يبلغ الكتاب أجله واعلموا أن الله يعلم ما في أنفسكم فاحذروه واعلموا أن الله غفور رحيم. Dear friends, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I recited Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayat number 235. In this ayat, Allah tells us about the woman whose husband they die. So after the death of the husband, they have to wait for 4 months and 10 days. So then they are eligible to have their nikah or their marriage with some other person. So Allah is telling us in this ayat that during the time period when they are they are spending 4 months and 10 days, so during that time no one is allowed to convey the message of nikah or marriage openly, but with hints is allowed. So we learn this one in this ayat. So Allah said, Wala junaha alaykum, and it is not sinful on you, fima, in it, arradtum bihi min khitbatin nisa. If you express your marriage proposal to the woman with hints during the waiting period, like 4 months and 10 days. Aw aknantum, or you hide or conceal, fi anfusikum, in yourself. It means the marriage proposal you have, if you are just to say to the woman, so you are allowed to say with hints, not openly, or you can hide it in yourself. Alimallahu, Allah knows, annakum, that satazkurunahunna, that you will mention it to them. Walakin la tuwa'iduhunna, and don't make the promise with them. It means you are not to make the promise with the woman that they have to do nikah with you openly, sirran, hiding. Even just secretly, with the secret way, you say, I want to marry with you, or you have to do nikah with me. So this is not allowed. Even if you secret way. Some people, if they want to do secret nikah during the time period when the woman is under 4 months and 10 days after the death of the husband, so in that time Allah said, وَلَكِنْ لَا تُوَاعِدُوهُنَّ سِرًّا. So you are not allowed to make a promise from the woman in a secret way just for marriage. So illa antakulu. So but you are allowed to say qawlam marufa. So something that is according to Sharia. So you are allowed to say that one. Wala tazimu uqdatan nikah. Wala tazimu, and don't resolve uqdatan nikah, the marriage knot, and don't resolve the marriage knot hatta yablughal kitabu ajala, until the end of the waiting period, like 4 months 10 days. So up to the ending of that period you are not allowed to do nikah, but after that is allowed. Walamu, and Allah knows. Walamu, and know. Annallaha ya'lamu, that Allah knows. Ma fi anfusikum, what is in yourself. So Allah knows what is in yourself. Fahzaruhu, so be aware of Allah or be afraid of Allah. Wa'lamu, and know, annallaha, that Allah, Ghafurur Rahim, Allah is the most forgiver and the most tolerant. So we read one time more. ولا جناح عليكم فيما عرضتم به من خطبة النساء أو أكننتم في أنفسكم علم الله أنكم ستذكرونهن ولكن لا تواعدوهن سرا إلا أن تقولوا قولا معروفا ولا تعزموا عقدة النكاح حتى يبلغ الكتاب أجله واعلموا أن الله يعلم ما في أنفسكم فاحذروه واعلموا أن الله غفور حليم. And there is no blame on you if you hint you are concerning the marriage proposal to the woman, or conceal it in yourself. Allah knows that you will mention them, but don't promise them in a secret way, except you speak proper, honorable way according to Sharia. And don't resolve the marriage knot until prescribed waiting period reaches its end. And know that Allah knows what is within yourselves. So beware of Him, or you must have fear of Allah, and know that Allah is the most forgiving and the most tolerant. So the message that we got from this ayat, Allah tells us that when the husband of a woman dies, so after the death of the husband, so the woman will have to mourn the death of her husband until 4 months and 10 days. So the mourning of or of the other persons is up to 3 days in Islam. But for the husband, so the woman who is the wife, she has to spend 4 months and 10 days. So during that time, no one is allowed to request for nikah, for marriage, to that woman who is under the duration of 4 months and 10 days. No one is allowed to say openly, but with hints it is allowed. So if you can see, we have two options that is in this ayat we got. So from tongue and from heart. Two from tongue, two from heart. And from the tongue, one is haram, one is lawful. And from the heart, one is haram and one is lawful. So we need to see what is mentioned in this ayat with respect to the wording that a person is allowed or not allowed to say before the woman who is under the waiting period 4 months 10 days. So during that time, the proposal of marriage, how it is possible to convey or not. So we can see it in this ayat with respect to tongue and heart, the message that we got from Allah. So first of all, we can look at the tongue, because Allah said in this ayat that from the tongue you are not allowed to say openly. You are not allowed to invite openly just for marriage or just for nikah to the woman who is in the period, like waiting period. So she is waiting period like 4 months 10 days. During that time, no one is allowed openly to her and to propose that I want to marry you, or you promise with me and you will marry me, or no one is allowed to do marriage direct during that time also. So this is haram. Like you even it is not allowed to make a promise or to say the woman that she should make a promise with you that she will marry you. Openly, no one is allowed to say it. That is in the Holy Quran in this ayat, Allah said, "Walakilla hunna sirran." So it is not lawful for you to make a promise from those women that who are under the period of 4 months and 10 days, and during after the death of her husband. So no one is allowed to make secretly, like sirran mean in a secret way, to make their mind and say that they should marry with this person. So this is not allowed. So it is haram. So if someone goes to that woman whose husband died and directly say to her that I want nikah with you, I want marriage, and you should do it with me and make a promise with me, so that is totally completely haram according to this ayat. Now the next point that Allah tells us in this ayat, that from the tongue you are allowed to say the proposal of marriage just with hint, not completely, just with hint is allowed. Like it comes in ayat that la junaha alaikum. So it is not sinful upon you, so it means it is allowed for you. So from that one, if you go up to column marufa, so illa antakulu qawlam marufa, but you have to say qawlam marufa mean the wording which is good or according to Islamic Sharia is good, and those one allowed. Like for example, if someone someone go to see the woman like whose husband died and with the marriage proposal, but should not express it openly, but say to the woman like, you are beautiful, I like you, and enough that one, like this type of wording, something is all right, but not to say direct that I want to marry you or you should promise with me for marriage. That is haram. But only if a person say with the tongue the something that hints towards the nikah, allowed. This is allowed. Like, you are beautiful, you are nice person, you are so simple, which I like. Something like this is allowed. So that these type of wording which will express the hint towards the nikah or towards the marriage. So if a person say, these are allowed, like in Holy Quran, like in this ayat, Allah said, "La junaha alaykum," and it is not sinful upon you, and illa an taqulu qawlan marufa. So you have to say the wording which is maruf, mean like which is lawful, and it can express the idea that may hint the uh, marriage proposal, but it is not completely opening that one. So this is the point Allah wants to express in this. So with the tongue, we understand, but with the heart. So the with the heart, Allah said in this ayat that you are not to make intention in your heart that you will marry that woman during the time period, like when she is waiting. So during that time you are not allowed to express that you want to marry her now. So it is, if you make this intention in your heart, so you are sinful person by heart. So that is the point. So this way it is haram to think like this type of thing in mind, that I will go to that woman and she is under the period, like a waiting period, like 4 months and 10 days. During that time I will request, okay, we do nikah, and if the person intend this one in the heart, so this thing is haram, is not allowed. So because it comes like in this ayat, la tazimu. So so you are not allowed to make intention of that one. So Allah said, la tazimu uqdatan nikah. So this, you are not allowed to make intention. The next point clears this one. Hatta yablughal kitabu ajala. So if in your heart you make intention that you will marry her after completion of her waiting time, so then is all right, then is allowed. Like it also comes in aknantum fi anfusikum, so no problem. It is also allowed. So you are allowed to, if you make the intention like you will marry that one, the woman after the completion of the waiting term, 4 months 10 days after that. So this is okay, this is allowed. So this is very important now, and now we have to look. So this was the Sharia and Islamic information about the woman who is under the waiting period of 4 months and 10 days when the husband is died. But we are just to know now about the normal, like if a person is just to give talaq or divorce to the woman, when first divorce is done, when a person is just to do first divorce, so after the first divorce, so the woman, she belongs to the husband also, because husband is allowed to rejoin her and to reconciliate. So no one is allowed to send the proposal of marriage to that woman who got the first divorce. So that is totally haram and sinful act, because during the time when a woman gets a first divorce from the person, from the husband, so she still stays the wife of that person during the time period, like 3 months. So during that time. So husband is allowed to rejoin and reconcile. So it is possible for him, and Allah allows to him. So this way he has the right to do that one. So no one is allowed to send a marriage proposal to the woman who has the first divorce. But if the person who has given the second divorce, so until the completion of the second divorce, like during the waiting time, so it is also uh, eh, in same like that. So intention, if a person have to make marriage with that woman, so that is allowed also there. But then the message may be conveyed like that way: if your husband will give you the third divorce, then I am thinking that I will do nikah with you. So then this type of thing is allowed. So this way. So, but in this ayat is completely about the woman whose husband died. And after the death of husband, so these women have to wait up to 4 months and 10 days. And during that time, no one is allowed to request openly for marriage or for nikah. So that conveyed by Allah in this ayat to us. And Allah also tells us, Wa'lamu annallaha, and you must know that one, that Ya'lamu ma fi anfusikum, and whatever is in yourself, Allah knows that also. So this way Allah said you have to complete and fulfill the requirement that Allah wants, or you are not allowed to cross the limits which Allah made for you. You have to bind in the limits, and you have to stay within that and not cross those one. And fahazaru, and you must have the fear of Allah, and you must understand wa'lamu, and must know that annallah ghafurur rahim, that understand that Allah is the most forgiving, because small things Allah can forgive. But if you are really crossing the limit and you are not following the command of Allah, then Allah is Halim. Halim mean like Allah is not too quick to have to to give you punishment, but Allah will wait for you to just for punishment, because if you are make a tawbah astaghfar, then you will be forgiven. But if you die like that way, and then maybe at the day of judgment, then punishment may be there. So if you are just to cross the limits, then, but if you are following the commands of Allah, and then there is no problem. If you are following the commands of Allah, and little bit sins if are done by you, so those will be forgiven, because Allah is Ghafoor, Allah forgive, Allah is the most forgiving. So this ayat tells us that we must follow the commands of Allah in just every way, because this life is short, and the life that we will get hereafter, after closing eyes, so then we have to go to Jannah, where we have to stay forever. There will be no death at all. So we have to make that life better. So we must be careful in this life. So we have to look after the limits of Allah, and we have to follow it, so that we can get the good reward at the day of judgment, inshallah.